what that is, but it's basically just an arm of Digitas, which you might be more familiar with. And it was basically, GroupeConnect was created just for the Bank of America client. I'm on the social coordinator team, which was started in 2020. And we handle all of all community management for Bank of America. So scheduling, publishing, engagement, and then just helping with the overall social strategy.
Awesome. So we have like a variety of people in marketing. That's great. Could you also give us one word that sums up your brand for your company and a little spiel about why?
Sure. I'd be doing our branding team a disservice if I didn't say it was vital, given that that's our name and we've rebranded recently from Vital Design to Vital. Basically, we feel like a strategic marketing direction that takes an analytical approach that heavily relies on measurement of success, and return on investment is vital to an organization's success. So therefore, Vital made sense for us.
Love that. That's so funny.
I'd say Shark Ninjas is impactful. I do a lot of consumer testing and I get to hear the impact our products have on people in their everyday lives. And especially as a company that centers around home cleaning, our products are at the center of people's lives, especially now with everyone being home. And we're kind of living amongst them. So hearing how our products get to help people and alleviate some parts of people's lives, it makes it all the difference. It's a really great company to work for.
Yeah, for me, I feel like from our team, like our social coordinator team, I think that we're a really energetic team. And this sounds so dramatic, but we are our team is one of those things that if we weren't working well, it would be a big sticking point for the company. But when social coordinator jobs are done well, it's kind of move to the background, just because it's a lot of scheduling, a lot of moving around and publishing, which sometimes can just be moved to the background, which makes sense. But I think our team, one of our biggest goals is just to be an energetic, a positive team. And especially working virtually, it's kind of hard to have that positive energy shine through. So I think that's something that our team really works for, whether it's just internal at GroupeConnect or with our clients, trying to get them excited about the social work and everything that we're doing with our customers. So I don't know what my one word is, maybe energetic or something.
For Clark's, I think the one word that would define our brand would definitely be heritage. We've been shoemakers for hundreds of years, and we're actually still a family-owned company out of the UK. The Clark's family still has ownership and stake in the company. So heritage is really what inspires our shoemaking and all of the marketing that goes into our shoemaking. So I think that would be the best word.
Love that. Love that. All good stuff. Speaking of, customers, Reba, you touched on that a little bit. Can you tell us from your perspective, who are your customers and how do you engage them? What are some tips and tricks that you use? And also, how has that changed due to the pandemic?
So Shark Ninja has a wide array of consumers. We have various ages, demographics, incomes. I think people are now starting to get more comfortable with having or with the idea of autonomous robots or just kind of AI products in their homes. So that's really allowed us to kind of expand our consumer base. But before going into developing a product, there's a ton of consumer data that we need to collect. So we have to figure out what exactly we want to provide consumers and what kind of product they're looking for. So from the product launch that we had in the fall, from my team specifically, it's a robot vacuum mop. They do it at the same time. So I engage with consumers in the beginning of the process by going into consumers' homes, interacting with them, and seeing how they interact with our previous products or prototypes. So I'd collect those insights, bring them back to the engineering team and say, okay, people like X feature, but they don't understand Y feature, and then go back to the drawing board and see how we can better kind of promote that feature that maybe people didn't understand. So drop-in sessions like those have obviously not been happening. So we've kind of shifted to more of an in-home testing base with the people within our company. So we do a lot of internal testing where we'll send people a robot to test in their home for 4 weeks. We've also done a lot of friends and family elements. So anybody that I know kind of around my town or local that I can send a robot to, just to gain more consumer insights and different home experiences. And we take those insights and we send them a survey just about consumer satisfaction. And then from there, we kind of test back and forth. It's a nice back and forth conversation between consumers and our product development team to try to say, okay, we hear you. Now try this prototype. Okay, that was good. Take it back to the drawing board, and kind of presenting them at each different build with something new that we think they're going to like. And we do that cycle until we feel confident enough to go to production with it. And even then, it's still constantly iterating. So there's a ton of consumer interactions, which have in fact shifted just because of COVID.
Okay, so also I just saw Lee joined and it like made me so happy. Hey, Lee. So from an ad agency perspective, our goals are to create great work and also keep our clients happy. And through that, also create great work that they're going to be really excited about. So I think that our customers are kind of twofold. Like for us, we're really trying to please our clients and make great work that they are excited about, and makes them obviously like us and like working with us. But I obviously, on the other side of it, for Bank of America, our customers are Bank of America customers and people that are either trying to switch their bank or start a new bank. And I know that Bank of America and like finance, working for a finance company can seem kind of bland, but I promise it's actually really exciting. And hopefully I can try to like portray that to you guys today. But I think my 2 tips for how we work with our customers and try to engage with them are, first of all, starting the social coordinator team that we have at Bank of America. So our whole purpose is to try to engage with customers and make Bank of America not just seem like this huge, scary financial corporation, and just make us seem a bit more approachable. So I think like even just establishing a team like that is a really good step in the right direction. I think specifically 2 key things are meeting your customers where they are and understanding what they want to talk about and what they want to hear from your brand. So 2 ways that we do that are we have a huge mindset calendar. It's like a beast of a document, and it breaks out monthly key mindsets per month, and then also like key holidays during that month. So for example, March is Women's History Month. It's also 1 year since the COVID shutdown. So like all of these are things that lenses that we're looking through when producing content for the month. Twitter and Pinterest also send us amazing historical knowledge on like what users talk about monthly. So we have all of that in our back pocket for creating content. So I think it's super important to understand, like, you don't just want to be putting content out that no one cares about. So that's not going to do anything good for the brand or your clients or your ad agency. So that's super important. And then also just like understanding where your customers are on social. So for Bank of America, our customers are everywhere. They're on Pinterest, they're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But then for Merrill Lynch, for example, which is a wealth arm of Bank of America, so they're talking to like high net worth individuals, they just post on Twitter and LinkedIn because that's where most of their customers are. So making that distinction and understanding where your customers are so it's less of a lift for them to find your content is also important.
At Clark's, our bread and butter customer, the person that keeps our lights on is definitely a person that values comfort in their footwear and is willing to spend, the couple extra dollars on footwear because they do value that comfort piece and that comfort story. Of course, like most companies, we're definitely trying to grow our younger, more faster fashion, aspirational consumer as well, always. Tips and tricks that we use to capture these customers is definitely data. Data is key and it's king in any digital marketing space. Understanding how consumers are interacting with our website or going out there and trying to find consumers that kind of fit that profile of what we want that Clark's consumer to look like. Since the pandemic hit, Clark's is really known for dress shoes, office wear, things like that. So we've had to make a big shift product-wise to kind of to help with that lapsed consumer in that sense. So we've been definitely dipping into the athleisure space. In no ways are we trying to compete with the Nikes and the Pumas of the world, but how can we talk to that Skechers or that Rothy's or that Allbirds consumer and have them think of Clarks in that space as well.
So because I work at a marketing agency, this question becomes a bit more complex, meaning, so my customers, our customers at Vital are our clients, but our goals are aligned to reach our clients' customers and grow leads and results specifically for them. So in order to reach our customers, so our clients at Vital, we really want to focus on their particular problems that they're having in their marketing department, their particular goals and objectives. And we really want to make sure that we're prescriptively giving them marketing strategies to, accomplish those goals and objectives. And if we can speak to that, we're more likely able to speak to them. From a client's customer's perspective, we have clients in just about every industry imaginable. So our clients, customers and clients in the B2B or B2C space are so widely varied, which makes our job super fun. But it's all about meeting consumers where they're at, just like Rebecca said. So when people are searching for specific solutions, or when they have specific problems, when they have intent to purchase, and understanding where they are in a buyer's funnel, whether it's in an education stage or ready to purchase a tool or service, we want to understand where they are in that funnel and find ways to get in front of people utilizing intent-based marketing methods. So when people are looking for solutions, or when people are looking for solutions to specific problems, we want our clients to show up for them. And when we can do that, that tends to enable us to speak to our customers and our clients as efficiently as possible. When it comes to changes during the pandemic, Vital changed a lot during the pandemic. We went from this like super culture focused organization where we have parties every week in the office, and we have a keg in the office, and chef comes in twice a week, to basically being fully remote. So there was, and losing like immediately 30% of clients, cut budgets or eliminated marketing budgets. So it caused us to have to pivot to find the right customers and help those that need help during the pandemic. So we not only did Vital shift, but all of our clients shifted in various different ways. We have, e-commerce clients that exploded, or those that focused on business services, like implementing Zoom for organizations that exploded. But we had other organizations that had to entirely pivot their strategies because they, focused heavily on event-based marketing tactics or conferences to generate leads. And so we really had to find unique ways to get all of our clients to pivot their marketing strategies. So narrowing it down to one is very difficult, but yeah, that's that.
So just a follow-up question on that, Max. With the culture shift that you mentioned, was that hard on you guys, like working there? Was that hard on the company's morale, I guess? How has that been so far?
Yeah, I would say so. I think because we were such a culture-focused organization, it was a difficult transition for a lot of people to, just not be around your coworkers all the time. And we have client calls on video conferencing all the time, so that wasn't unique or anything like that. But it's definitely difficult on certain people more than others. Some people like being at home and not coming to the office, and some people can't live without going to the office. For me in my particular, I actually moved out to Colorado 3 months prior to be a fully remote employee right before the whole COVID thing happened, or more than that, probably about 6 months. So I kind of got a jump start on the whole work from home thing. But it's definitely been a big transition, and it's Vital's focused on trying to find new ways to bring that culture back in, even without as much of that in-person stuff. We've been hiring people like crazy. We just got a video conference with, all the new employees to try to, keep some type of culture going. So it's been difficult, but we're getting there.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate how it all went down. I mean, it sounds like a great company culture, such a fun place to be at, honestly. But it's good that you're finding like new ways to still have that connection with everyone. Um, and Alana, to your point, like with the products, I think that's so innovative, just trying to send out the products to the consumer and then have surveys and everything, testing it back and seeing what works, what didn't. That's definitely an interesting way to like pivot and adapt to the new situations. And Reba, as you said, like give it meaning. Like don't produce content to just produce content, you know, just make sure you have that meaning behind it. And as our keynote speaker, for those who saw him, Chris Graves, he was talking a lot about like the psyche of marketing and how there needs to be like feeling behind it and a meaning behind it. So these are all really, really good points. So on to the next question. Could you tell us a little bit about a typical day for you? What do you find most rewarding about your job, and also conversely, what don't you like?
Yeah, definitely. So in the performance marketing space, it's kind of the sweet spot in marketing between kind of the data and the science, as well as the creative side of it. And that's really what I love. So a typical day is really analyzing your channels daily on the daily level, understanding how we're doing day over day and week over week. Some of the channels that I look after are paid search, paid social, remarketing, affiliate, kind of those classic bread and butter performance channels. And what I find most rewarding about this type of work is you can really see how your marketing decisions, whether it be your audience, your copy, your creative, is actually affecting the bottom line and affecting profit and order volume every single day. And that's really exciting to me and kind of what drives me or keeps things new and fresh. Things I might not like as much would probably be this past year has been really tough on the retail space specifically. So I support our .com, our e-com business, but because our in-store brick and mortar stores took such a hit, being closed with large parts of the country being closed and still being closed, there's definitely a lot more pressure on the digital channels and on the e-com front to perform and kind of pick up the slack for the other group. So that's been pretty challenging this past year.
For me, so Digitas is based out of Boston, the office that I work in, but similar to Max, I moved to the West Coast, so I live in Washington State now. I guess Colorado's not the West Coast, but you know what I mean. And so I'm still working Boston hours, so I get up at 5. Yeah, 5. And I typically like that ends up being 5:40 because I hit snooze so many times, but which is great because you can do that when you work from home. But I start work at 6. I end around like in an ideal world 2:00. That rarely happens, but and it's still, I love it. I never want to go back to working East Coast hours in the East Coast because you have the whole afternoon to do whatever you want, and it feels like another day that you have after the workday, which is great. I typically like my day-to-day, I feel like everyone says this and it's such a cop-out answer, but it really does change all the time. My like basic roles stay the same. A lot of like the scheduling is something that I do every day, and publishing is something that I do every day. But working for Bank of America is just like, you just never know what you're going to get. And it's sometimes kind of annoying that there's fire drills all the time, sometimes daily, and it like blows everything up. All the plans that you thought you had, you now have to revisit, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, but I do like that it does kind of keep you on your toes and you don't feel like you're just stuck in a Groundhog Day movie every day. And you are kind of switching it up. So I enjoy that. Something that I don't like about right now, and I don't think it's job specific, I think it's just like working from home specific, is that like, have you guys ever gotten a text from someone and it's kind of rude and you're like, I know you would never say this to my face, but because you're behind a screen, it's so much easier. Seeing a lot of head nods. Okay, that is like a serious problem in corporate America still. And so I think working from home, it's like a major problem that people kind of just get in their own bubble and forget to think about what other people have going on. So I have two little things I printed out and stuck on my laptop. And one says, you never know what people have going on in their personal lives, because you really do need to think about it. At the beginning of the shutdown, one of my coworkers was just ignoring me, and I was so mad. Like, my messages were, I needed something kind of urgently, and I was like, my messages to her were kind of sassy, and reading them back, they were just not nice. And I thought she was ignoring me, and she ended up being in the emergency room. And I felt so bad. She's fine. I felt so bad because I didn't take a step back to like think about, we're all virtual. I have no idea what's going on in anyone's lives. I work with a ton of parents that have kids like running around, and I can't understand that distraction and like working from home, dealing with that. So you do have to like give your coworkers grace. And I think hopefully, like, as you do that to your coworkers, you'll get that in return. I think it is getting better as like working from home continues. But I would say that that's definitely something I've struggled with. Like, people just not respecting that you do have a ton going on, and they just might not see it. So.
Yeah, empathy is key, honestly, at this point. And I just want to say, Reba, you like hacked the system with that one, like working Boston hours, but like all the way across country. So big ups for that. Alana?
Yeah, bouncing off of what Reba said too, I think it is really interesting that a lot of people have kids, families, you know, a whole bunch of dynamics going on. I currently still live at home. As of next Thursday, I am also relocating for the heck of it, because COVID doesn't need me in Boston. I don't want to be in Boston. So I'm moving to North Carolina, which is a ton of flexibility. I know that we're all talking about kind of the drawbacks of COVID, but there's also, you know, all things considered, there are some things that are shifting within the corporate world. So I hope everyone here graduating, going into internships, takes full advantage of whatever your company is going to allow you to do. But going off of my day-to-day, there's some consistency within my day, but that's because it's just all filled with meetings. So normally in the morning around 8:30, we have our touch base with our Boston team, our Alabama team, and our China team, just to make sure that the work was done. From the China side, you know, they're just ending their day as we're just starting our day. So making sure it's kind of like a seamless transition. And then throughout there, I'll have some meetings with our engineering team, our testing team, our program management teams, our creative teams, basically every team under the sun that has to go into making a product, because product development is at the center of this product. So we need to know how all these different elements are coming together. I think what's most rewarding about that is I get to talk to and kind of experience so many more people than I think I ever would have. I'm in a very small kind of engineering cohort. And if it's not, you know, well defined, I had a marketing degree, so I have no engineering experience. So coming into that environment where everyone is constantly wanting to learn and kind of dig up issues, I think is fascinating. So being able to have that one-on-one with people that know so much more than I do about elements that I didn't even know I would consider, like PCBA boards and just a lot of technical stuff. I liked group projects in Paul and throughout college, because you kind of got to see the different elements. And everybody, you know, whenever we had, what was it, our capstone projects, you know, I loved figuring out what everyone's strong suits were to then have everyone break off and then come together. So it's a lot of that in the real world. The challenge, other than you know, the different environments that are going on in your home life, is there never seems to be enough time in the day to get all the stuff done, especially with all the meetings and all the deliverables that we need to bring into each daily meeting. It's kind of like a professor that assigns you coursework for that work, but then you go to the next class and you get more coursework, and then it kind of builds, and you're like, when the heck am I supposed to get this done? But I think Paul, and just in general, what UNH has done with helping me make study plans for myself and helping me set a solid foundation for me as a worker, has definitely helped make that transition a little bit easier, and makes me kind of take a step back and say, okay, what's the priority? And then figuring it out from there, which I don't know if I would have been able to do if I were in office, because then there's a commute going back and forth. And yeah, so lots of positives and negatives with COVID, but it's all worth it.
Awesome. So a typical day for me, I too work East Coast hours from the West. So I generally start work around 6:30, which is really nice as an early bird person. And I try to finish up early so that I can have some in the afternoon. And then I generally work more at night too. Basically, typical day for me varies widely, but ideally I get time. I put time on myself every day to work on a client or two and build out their marketing strategies. But I'm always on weekly calls with clients. I have a few a day. Occasionally I hop on sales calls to try to drive new clients for Vital. Just got off one before this. I also, on a monthly basis, we present our digital marketing reports to our clients. So I present those reports, explain, what we did to improve our results and our best next steps. On a quarterly basis, I do a larger presentation to our clients of all of the calendar items and marketing projects that we're going to work on over the next quarter, and pitch them. Basically, here's everything that we're going to do. Here's what we expect this to result in terms of traffic, leads, and revenue generation. Here's my pitch to you as to why we should do this project. Here's how long it's going to take. And I do this across a wide variety of clients on so my cadence is like daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly tasks that vary pretty consistently across clients. What I find the most rewarding about my job, there's a couple things. Number one, I work for a lot of small to medium-sized businesses and a few enterprise-level organizations. But those medium to small-sized businesses, it's extremely rewarding when you get results for them that affect their bottom line, especially when they don't expect it. It's rewarding to see your direct marketing strategy and your efforts result in bottom line increases for an organization, especially in the small to medium-sized space, because you see it impact their lives and their business, which is really rewarding. The second piece is when you put a lot of time and effort and research into learning an industry, learning a client, and putting together a robust marketing strategy that you feel is going to result in those bottom line results, and it works, it's extremely rewarding to have that occur. The third thing I love about my job is the diversity, because we're a marketing agency that isn't industry specific and we're industry agnostic. I have clients in literally every space imaginable. I'm just going to open up my email. So I have my personal clients. I have a diabetes manufacturer. I have a school building, like a school modular construction company. I have a PCB manufacturer. I have a business services of every type, corporate leadership training, a client that deals with private jet acquisitions. So they only deal with the ultra rich to acquire jets and consult on those. Ball valve manufacturer, industrial bolting tools, massage chair stores. So they sell luxury massage chairs, those like $4,000 to $12,000 massage chairs. That's one of my clients. Obstacle course racing world championships, faux wall panels, VIP auto. That's the most fun part of my job is when I get a new client, I have to immerse myself in that industry and that space and understand their customers and clientele. And it's extremely difficult, but very fun. And so it's never boring. I never get stuck doing something repetitive. It's always learning new industries and finding ways to make marketing tactics work for them. That's also my biggest challenge. It becomes really time intensive and very difficult to find new ways to get results for different industries. So there's a lot of pressure there. And it takes up a lot of my time to really learn a new industry. So the part of what I love about it is also the hardest thing, which is learning these new industries and being able to not just come up with a strategy, but I then have to pitch it and get these professionals in this industry on board with these marketing strategies. In order to do so, they have to trust you, and building that trust is very difficult and takes time. So yeah, it's my favorite and hardest and least favorite part of the job.
Awesome. There's a lot of learning going on, I see, especially with Max, your diverse list of, clients, and Alana, working with all these engineers and stuff, all good stuff. So you're all fellow Wildcats, so kind of pivoting into UNH related questions. What are some things that you learned here at UNH that you believe have really helped you in your career?
Okay, so I think it's hard for me to like pinpoint a specific thing that helped in my like advertising agency career, but I think like my experience at UNH and my experience at Paul College was really great in the fact that I did really try to get involved in a lot of different like organizations and clubs, and also surround myself by different people. Like my roommate, this is a kind of silly example, but like two of my roommates were engineers. So even just like and we got to compete in this like engineering competition in New Mexico, and we were the only business students there. And so trying to like have conversations with those people just like makes your brain think in ways you never really had to before. So I think like when I think about my experience at Paul College, it's just like a well-rounded experience. And I feel like doing that really helps at an ad agency, because to Max's point, you never know what kind of client you're going to be working with. It could be a tech company, it could be a bank, it could be a clothing company. Like you literally never know. So I think any experience that you can do at Paul College I know everyone says this, but like get involved and learn about different things and kind of like force your brain to think differently is super important, and it's going to help you no matter what industry you go into. To Alana's point about group projects, I hated them in college, but it is, and I remember being like, this is like, this can't be the way it is in the real world. Like you always get to choose the people you work with, and like the bad group members, they'll be like flushed out in the real world. And it's honestly not true. Like you're always going to butt heads with certain people on your team. And so while it is sometimes painful in school, it is important to learn and like to practice. And I think like getting used to working with people that think differently than you is a really good exercise and lesson for your brain, and like something that you're always going to have to deal with. So as much as it can be tough and like the random groups, you know how it's the worst when you can't pick your group? It's actually really good in the long run. I know it doesn't make it any easier in the moment, but it really is beneficial down the line.
Awesome. Should we start answering some of these questions as they come up? Is that fine to do? Or are we saving them for the end?
I think we're saving them for the end for now, but we will get to them.
Okay, cool.
If you feel you want to, jump in and just say, at Samantha and answer that in the chat, you can do that on your own too.
Okay, perfect. So some things I learned at UNH, I would say probably the most key element was to take the initiative, and things are what you make it. You can go get a degree, you can hover on through and do that, but it's extremely important that you take initiative to learn some things yourself, get an internship, find ways to learn about something that you're passionate about that'll put you in a career that you want. Taking the initiative to reach out to people in an industry that you're interested in and try to get a mentor or learn from them or get coffee with them. I can't stress enough how important it is to take the initiative to educate yourself, so that you are setting yourself up for as much success as possible. I think UNH certainly taught me that. And I know this comes up in a later question, but that's how I ended up where I am, and how I got the job that I really wanted, was being able to take specific initiatives. So that would be my key takeaway from UNH.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself there. We've only been doing Zoom for a year. I would just to bounce off what Alana and Reba said about the collaboration, the group project piece is so key and important. Daily I'm working with departments that we all have competing priorities, whether it be finance or merchandising or product. We all obviously have the one goal for the company and for the brand, but you know, we all think differently, and we all have different goals at the end of the day. So being able to work with a diverse group of people, and find that common goal and to compromise, I think is very, very important, and something that my classes and my times and my projects at UNH definitely taught me. I think another big thing that UNH taught me was how to challenge yourself and how important that is in your career as well too. I think having a challenging role, not being complacent, is something that is very rewarding and will keep you at a role for a long time. We're able to grow and just get better every single day.
Yeah, something that I learned at UNH is just ask for help when you need it. As a peer advisor, I used to stress to my fire students how important it was to use the resources that Paul College provided you, whether it was career services, advising, professors' office hours. It's the same thing in the working world. Asking for help doesn't expose any sort of weakness within your work ethic. There's no need to reinvent the wheel if you know that someone else has already experienced this project that you're working on or this process. If they have more experience than you, reach out to them, get insights. I think in that case, you're going to continue to flex your networking muscle that you've been training so hard for at Paul College. And you're never going to regret a time when you network. I think Paul has done a fantastic job with just kind of letting the students get the exposure they need to through group projects, through capstone projects, through, you know, having involvement within Paul and also within clubs. But utilize your professors. If you have a question about something to do with marketing, or you're like, I just have absolutely no idea what I want to do, but I know it has to do with marketing or product development. Like, what do I do? That is a perfect question for Diane. That is a perfect question for career services. Like, they're not there just to kind of scoot you in and scoot you out. They want you to succeed. It's kind of a matter of if you put in the work, they will meet you halfway. No one's going to do the work for you. Nothing is going to be handed to you. Sometimes opportunities kind of fall into your lap, and Paul has also taught me to grab every opportunity that comes in my way and try it, because what's the worst that could happen? Yeah, I think adaptability too. Paul did a great job through coursework and through extracurricular stuff of just kind of shifting with the times. Something doesn't work out, okay, you figure out a new way to move on and find out a new way to make it work.
Yeah, ditto all of that, Alana. And as a senior, I feel like I can also touch on the whole group project thing. It, like, you want to be in a group with your friends, yeah, but also getting paired with random people, like, it's great because the blame is off of you if it doesn't work out. That's step one, but also it gets you more comfortable with just working with random people. So I think that's one good thing that Paul has, like, especially prepared me for at this point. Just getting used to being like, okay, I'm in a group with random people, how do we make it work? So all good points. So on the flip side, what are some things that you wish you would have done here at UNH to maybe help you in your career?
Yeah, I'm starting this one, darn. Let's see, I'll start with what helped me the most was grabbing an internship in the space that I was interested in. And I did that 3 times throughout being at UNH. I was interested in digital marketing, and UNH at the time didn't have a ton of digital marketing offerings. I know it's grown substantially since then, which is fantastic. But it was a passion of mine once I learned about it. And I immediately tried to hop in and learn as much as I could about marketing and digital marketing in general outside of UNH. So I found some internships, and I also took some certification courses online just to give myself some extracurricular learning on something that I found was a bit of a gap in the UNH learning at the time. And if you find a gap like that, that might be a really good place to differentiate yourself from other students in the same space. If you find a gap where curriculum may be lacking and is really applicable to the current space, then that means you likely can stand out from your fellow students by researching, understanding, and getting experience in that space. I did do that pretty well at UNH, but I wish I did it earlier. I wish I started to learn what interested me when I was a freshman and sophomore, and what didn't interest me at that stage. I got a lot more serious my junior and senior years. So I would say I wish I started to take those initiatives a little bit earlier in my UNH career. I think it would have just helped me excel more and allow me to understand where I really want to end up in life, because UNH flies by, your undergrad flies by, and what you want to do next comes up really quickly. So the earlier you can start learning about what's out there and what you like, the better off you'll be. And the more people you'll meet that'll help you along the way.
I couldn't agree more. I think going off that, I think Paul College could do maybe a little bit of a better job of making the distinction between marketing and advertising. I mean, I know I'm answering a lot of these from like an ad agency perspective, but that's really like all I know. So I think making the distinction earlier on what the difference is between marketing and advertising. Marketing is just such a huge umbrella term. Advertising's under that umbrella, and then under advertising, like advertising is its own umbrella. And it's just peeling back those layers is something that you do kind of learn. Like for me, I didn't really learn that until I actually interned at an ad agency. So I think like making that distinction a bit earlier and helping students, like Max was saying, as a freshman or as a sophomore, kind of better understand like what opportunities are actually out there, could be helpful. And like Max said, obviously that's getting better with, I think you guys have like a digital agency now. So that's great. But I think just like making that distinction earlier would have been helpful for me. I also think, going off my point earlier of trying to surround yourself with people that like think differently than you, I know for a fact I said when I was at Paul College that I was excited to be around like-minded people. I know I said that, and I know I said it multiple times. And I wish I could go back and like shake myself and be like, no, that is so not the point. Especially in advertising, like one of the worst things you can do is surround yourself by only like-minded people. So when you think about like-minded, if you're thinking like motivated, want to succeed, like want to produce great work, okay, yes, like be around those people, but you need to have different people in the room from you. Like if you don't in advertising, you will fail. And if you're like only around people that come from the same background as you, have worked in the same industries as you, like went to the same sort of schooling as you, like you're going to produce something that you think is great, but then it just takes one person that thinks differently to come in and be like, no, that's so bad for this reason. But if you just changed this one thing, it would be amazing. So I think something that Paul College, something that all of us can work on is just like understanding that being around people that like are like-minded isn't always a good thing. Sometimes it is when you think about like being motivated, but just like, I don't know, I think making that distinction also is super important.
I love that point. I definitely was in the same shoes as you, Reba, by just saying like, oh, I love this. Like everyone here has the same, same motivations as me, but it was just like that business mindset is not carried out throughout the real world. Especially because if you think like each project kind of has one or two marketing people, and then it's filled in with everyone else. So definitely exposure to other people and other work ethics, I think, is important. Something I wish I had learned, I think I had a turning point second semester senior year from one class that I took. So this isn't specifically what I wished I knew more of. I think this is more what I wished other people were made more aware of, which is the perfect opportunity to talk about it with undergrads. And that's kind of how to adult in the real world. I learned so much from Caitlin DeSoy's financial planning class, everything from how to budget, how to negotiate a raise or a salary, how to get the most for your dollar at the grocery store, what to look for in contracts, steps to take to buying a house, questions for your employer. And it completely opened my eyes to the foundation that I would need post-grad, which is not something that I think people are thinking about with even taxes and loans and that whole next stage. So I think her class specifically sent me into the real world with a nice little bow tied around my head saying like, okay, like we talked about this, you can do this. So take any class that you can that you think will be directly applied to life outside of the classroom. Financial planning, highly recommend. I did not do well in finance. I am not a numbers person. So it was something that got me out of my comfort zone. It was 3 hours on Wednesday nights. I took it with one of my best friends. And we still back and forth reference, remember when Kate said this? Yeah. Do you still have the notes from that? Yeah. He just bought a house. I'm moving. So it's all of these different life moments that are going to happen. But you still get to talk about it kind of in a Paul College setting with people that you trust and other people to bounce ideas off of. I think that's so important.
Yeah, to go off what Max and Reba were talking about in terms of the different types or layers of marketing, I think I wish I dove deeper into or learned more about at my time at UNH. Understanding the difference between brand marketing and commercial marketing and consumer marketing and performance marketing. So when I was entering, the workforce, I had a better idea of, maybe what I wanted to try. Things I wish I learned more of or maybe done was, just a group like this. I wasn't a part of the advertising club. And this is so great that you guys are doing this and networking with alumni and just other people in the marketing industry. This event can turn into a LinkedIn connection, which can turn into, meeting a hiring manager at your next job. So I think putting yourself out there and joining clubs and groups like this is really important.
Yeah, all great points. Alana, send me your notes for that class because your girl needs them.
I got you.
And thank you. Reba, onto your point of like diversity, that also ties into what we were talking about with empathy as well, because the more perspectives you get, the more you build those empathy skills and seeing the world through a different lens. So all good points. So this is more for our students and also everybody in the audience. If you have any questions, just throw them in the chat. We'll get to them in a little bit. But if you have any questions, we can send them out, have them answered if we run out of time, but just throw them in the chat for now. So any tips for landing a job? How can, our students differentiate themselves to, land roles in this marketing and advertising industry?
I think all of our answers are going to vary depending on our own personal experiences. So from my personal experience, apply to anything that interests you. I started looking for companies within my area, so the Boston area, and then I narrowed it down to companies that had similar interests as me. So I started with looking at companies that dealt with sports or sports apparel, other apparel companies, anything with like cooking or like kitchen companies, just something to get my foot in the door to see if it would interest me. One day I sat in Starbucks for, I don't know, like 4 hours and just applied to like 30 or 40 different jobs. I reached out to different UNH alumni on LinkedIn from those companies just to start a conversation. Most of them went unread, which is totally fine, kind of expected it. But the connections that I did make and that I was able to kind of foster into a working and networking relationship, it was great. I talked to one guy, I think he was like a class of 70 something from UNH, just about a nonprofit that he was a part of. And we talked about my interests. We talked about his own personal interest within the company and just kind of what he liked about the company. And I felt like I was interviewing him because I wanted to find out if it was something that I even wanted to look into. And then on the flip side, there was a kid who was 2014 graduate from UNH from the engineering school from Shark Ninja that I reached out to. And I was like, hey, I'd love to touch base, just to chat about the job. And he did like a 1-sentence reply like a month later. Long story short, I got the job, started working, and it was like 3 months in, he sat down at my desk and he was like, oh my God, I'm now just realizing that it was you. And he's one of my best friends. So just really trying to get your name and your foot in the door in any way you possibly can. No one is ever going to kind of dismiss you for being, I don't want to say like too eager, but like if you have passion for something, if you want to try to see what this world can provide you in the marketing world, I'd say go for it. There's no time when your curiosity is not going to speak for itself.
Awesome. Working at Vital, who's located in the Portsmouth area and or the main office in the Portsmouth area, and being a UNH grad, I get a lot of people now on LinkedIn that message me from UNH that are asking about how I can get a job at Vital. But I pretty much always answer the same way, which is exactly what you were just saying. Number one, find a way to differentiate yourself through experience. Number two, find a way to get your foot in the door. And then I always give them some examples of ways to differentiate yourself through experience, and a little bit of of what I did to differentiate myself through experience. So the first was find an internship in that space that you're interested in, try to learn as much as possible. I then also took the initiative to further my education outside of UNH. So I got inbound marketing certified by HubSpot. I got Google Analytics certified. I got Google Ads certified. And then I built my own website and practiced digital marketing on that. And that became my key talking point in interviews, was the website that I built and practiced my own digital marketing tactics on. I just built it in WordPress. It was nothing to begin with, really. But since then, it's turned into an actual small business, which has been exciting. So it's been a side project of mine since I've been at UNH, and it helped me land a job. And now it's an income generator, and it's a blast. And it's things that allows me to talk about. I get to talk about digital marketing tactics that I've tried myself on my own small business. And it's exciting. And that's a great way to differentiate yourself, especially in the digital marketing space. If you've done those things, you're immediately ahead of 95% of the other people looking for the same job. And then the second piece is getting your foot in the door. LinkedIn message people, find emails, give the organization a call, maybe, if you can't get anyone to respond to you. But like, for example, at Vital, I contacted several people that worked at Vital. One responded to me, was willing to, have lunch with me at the Vital office. I went in, had one of the chef lunches at the time, told them about everything I was doing, asked for advice. And then a couple of months later, I had a job there because I already had my foot in the door, and I had taken the initiative to have experience that other people in my situation probably didn't have at that time. So those would be my pieces of advice for landing a job, is finding a way to differentiate yourself through experience and getting a foot in the door any way you can.
Just a quick note on that. All the HubSpot and Google certifications are mostly like online courses. So they take like probably not even like a month to complete. I did one over the summer while we were in quarantine. So if anybody's interested in those, Diane has like a bunch of resources that you can look through, as well as like the marketing resource page on Canvas. But I just wanted to plug that real quick. Also, hikingandfishing.com. Yes. All right.
Thanks
and Taylor, if you want to build on top.
Yeah, definitely. I think another big thing, I think it's so smart to work at an agency right out of school. I worked at a marketing agency for 4 years before moving to the brand side of the house. And I think it's what big brands honestly look for, that you have you're able to work with a diverse group of clients, but you're also used to working in a very fast-paced environment and with all different types of marketing channels. So I think it's the best experience you can get out there, is working at an agency. In terms of tips for landing a job, and it's one I think everyone is still working on, it's, being comfortable talking about yourself, not feeling weird bragging about yourself and telling a stranger all these great things you've accomplished. They're not going to do that extra digging and research on you. So it's really on you to sell yourself and let them know how great you are and what you'll do for their company.
I cannot echo everything you guys said more. Such good. Did you have anything else, Taylor? I hope I didn't cut you off.
No.
Okay. I totally agree with everything they said. Honestly, they covered it. I think I can just provide some more examples for these things. Like the internship, I think, is so key because of the learning, obviously, but also the connections that you make. Every connection that you make is going to connect you with at least 5 more people who will connect you with many more people. Just a weird example, my stepsister's high school boyfriend's mom was in a sorority, and one of her sorority sisters is married to the ex-creative director at Wieden and Kennedy, who now works for Apple. And I was able to through that connection, talk to him on the phone. We email, and it's just it's honestly the coolest connection I've ever made. And it's just, you never ever know who is going to connect you to different people. And it's just something that I was told very early on that's always stuck with me, is that it sounds negative, but it's not. You can't even imagine how little of time you take up in someone's day if you ask for help or ask for 30 minutes to talk on the phone and like pick their brain about their industry or like their job. And so the worst that can happen is you reach out to someone and they don't respond, which, like Alana was saying, it happens to all of us multiple times. But like the person that does reach out to you and does give you the time can like change everything for you. So just never be afraid to like put yourself out there. And like one day, there's people that have ghosted me on LinkedIn before that I work with now at GroupeConnect. And we always joke about how like they just left me on red on LinkedIn. And I'm like, now we're coworkers. But I think also something that's really important to Max's point about like just differentiating yourself so that the people interviewing you know that you're a human is important. Like I have a section on my resume called Ask Me About. It's just this little tiny blurb in the corner, and it's 4 things. It's just fly fishing, snowboarding at Sugarloaf, studying abroad in Australia, and hiking Katahdin. And you would be amazed at how many people don't ask me anything else about my resume except just go to that section, because most skills can be taught, but finding someone like that vibes with your personality and that you're going to like be a great addition to the team is really what's like important to a lot of these people. I think like being on the creative side and like being a copywriter or graphic design is like a part of your soul and like who you are. But there's also a lot of parts at an ad agency that can just be taught. And so like making sure the interviewer knows who you are as a human and not just as an employee or a marketer is like so important.
Yeah, all great points. I just wanted to add on to what Taylor said about we all want to be humble, of course, during like interviews or even on our resumes. As we're starting off, we all just want to be humble and not like bragging about ourselves. We feel bad about that, but just rewording that into self-advocacy instead of, you know, bragging, just being like, okay, here's who I am, here's how I'm going to get these people to know me, is something that I personally had to learn as well. So that's a really, really good point. And I know we're going a little bit over time, so just for the sake of time, our last question is Libby's or Scorps? Debate.
Okay, well, when I was at UNH, we had a bar called The Knot too, which I don't think exists anymore. And my friends bartended there, and my sister bartended there, and I loved it. But I would say Scorps.
I'm muted, but Libby's through and through for me. And I feel like it changes every year. Like what bar is the like hot bar? Hot is not what I meant. Like the it bar. And I don't know if Libby's was last year. Like Alana, maybe I'm just a weirdo, but I loved Libby's. We would go at like 6 o'clock and just order so many buffalo wings and
nachos.
And the nachos.
Nachos.
Then you had a table for the rest of the night. Yeah, I'm a Libby's girl.
And it was just so fun. But like Taylor was saying, the Knot was like ended last year, but that's where I spent my 21st birthday because Libby's and Scorps were closed. And that is where we went for karaoke after the senior boat cruise, which is my like most favorite memory of college. So the Knot has a special place in my heart too.
Max, how about you?
They've both got some great experiences and terrible ones, but I would always say that, I mean, the line is the most frustrating thing in the entire world. Whatever has a shorter line is the better approach. But I think I was a Libby's fan more than a Scorps fan.
So crazy. Everyone in the chat is saying Libby's. And I saw at Libby's when I went to UNH, it was dead. No one went there.
Yeah, there's like, we have to like reserve spots now. So there's no like line struggle per se. There's still a line, but like not as intense. Girl.
Well, I guess you're right.
Line, yeah.
All things considered.
I definitely think Scorps basement and Libby's like first floor is good this year. That's why Libby's is popping. They still have like bingo on Wednesdays and everything, so they have good events going on. But yeah, well, thank you all so much for being here today. This was really great and insightful conversation. And I'm so proud of all of you Wildcats, like seeing you, you know, in your careers and, you know, like coming from the same place that we're at right now is just so inspiring. So thank you so much. And if anyone wants to connect with these lovely people, just find them on LinkedIn, send them an email if you'd like. I hope they won't ghost you. They might, depending on how busy. But yeah, feel free to shoot them a message, and we're just gonna move on to opening up the chat for some questions.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everybody. We have a few right now from earlier in the conversation. Kyle was wondering what a deal breaker has been for you guys when you're choosing your job. Is there a certain factor that really goes into your consideration and your decision process?
This is a really good question. It's hard because like when you're first starting out, you feel like you need to take every opportunity that comes your way. But it's just not true. I do understand, but I think like something for me would be if you meet these people, like I know people say it all the time, but you're being interviewed is just as much you interviewing the company. And if something doesn't feel right, you need to listen to that. Also, like you need to think through the pay that they're offering, go through all of your everything that you spend monthly, like all your basic bills, and then everything like on top of that, and like actually think realistically if this job is going to make your life harder in a bad way. It's going to make your life harder because you're going to be busier, but like if it's going to be a pain point for you, it's just not worth it and something else will come along.
I would add on to it one thing that was extremely important to me and should be important to everyone really is this job going to propel my knowledge and my ability to be marketable myself in the future? So am I going to learn what I want to learn here? And is it going to be valuable lessons that I'm going to learn here? And then secondly, is there room for growth in my position to whether it's to learn more or to, take the next step up? That's not a deal breaker if there's not growth, because you can switch companies, but I would say it's a deal breaker if I'm going to go here and I don't want my objective just to be making money. I want to at least learn something that's valuable to me and that's that's going to interest me. And if you're not doing that, I think it's going to be difficult for you to have success there and for you to be happy there.
Okay, fantastic. Sorry, I'm a little slow sometimes to the mute button. We also had a question about whether you ever have had experiences with failures while suggesting a marketing tactic for a client or colleague, and what the backlash was within that.
Yes, I've had a lot of mistakes and strategies that haven't worked. We've had mistakes that have led clients to leave us or fire us. We've had mistakes that have just led to difficult conversations, and also just strategies that didn't pan out the way that we expected. They didn't result in as much traffic as we wanted, or as much leads as we wanted, or as much revenue as we wanted. And it's just a matter of pivoting and understanding 100% of the stuff you come up with isn't going to work. Hopefully most of it does work and it works really well. And not letting those bad moments crowd over the really good moments and the successful wins, and then making sure you're learning from the mistakes. So if there's a mistake that can be corrected, learn from that mistake and make sure that mistake doesn't happen again. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And I think it shouldn't discourage you from raising your hand and wanting to test or try different things. If you're not testing and failing, you're not learning or getting better. So it happens, it comes with the territory, and just learning not to be afraid of it.
This isn't a mistake, but I just feel like I didn't talk to it yet. And I feel like it's important, but I was laid off last January from the ad agency I was previously working at. And I think some of you guys maybe came to Arnold and like for a different MAC event, but I was laid off last year. I'm 2 years out of college, already been laid off. And you honestly, at the time, I was like, what did I do wrong? I must be a horrible employee. Like, what am I doing? And you just have to understand, like, if you go into advertising, that is super normal. You will be picked up from another agency. Like, I was laid off on January 10th and my first day at Digitas was February 10th. So I got severance for 2 weeks. So I was only not paid for 2 weeks. And it's just, especially in Boston, there's so many agencies, and like if you go into advertising, like you'll probably switch around. It's super fluid and like very normal to switch around. But that is like, can feel like such a blow to your confidence and feel like you did something wrong. But really it's just like, it's part of your path. It's part of your destiny and your fate. And you just have to like realize that, and it'll all make sense a year down the road why it happened.
I wanted to add on to that. I think a lot of people, I think the majority of people at some point in their life have felt what's called the imposter syndrome. So feeling like you don't belong where you belong, or you don't know enough, and I felt that. The vast majority of you, I'm sure, felt that. And it's important to recognize that a lot of people feel that. And it's good to feel that. It means that you have more to learn, but it doesn't mean that you don't belong there. Just keep learning and keep trying your best, and things will work out.
Thank you so much, panelists. I appreciate you staying a little bit longer to answer some of these questions. We really appreciate you being here today and all the insight you've been able to give us. Having that been said, I think we're going to jump into the winners of the Real World Business Challenge. If Matt would like to, if I can pass it over to Matt. Thank you again for coming. This has been fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Please reach out to us. Like, we really do want to help. So anytime, don't be afraid.
Definitely.
If we can do it, you guys can do it.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Can everyone see my screen? Awesome. Hi, everyone. For all who don't know me, my name is Matthew Morrison. I'm currently a junior at UNH studying accounting and finance, and I serve as the vice president of SMAC. I'd like to thank all the teams who competed in the Real World Challenge this morning. All of your hard work and dedication shined through today and wasn't left unnoticed. I know this is the first year we did everything virtual. I was definitely bummed out we weren't in person. However, I think all the hard work everyone put in really made this a really special SMAC and a really special Real World Business Challenge. So with that being said, I got all the numbers from all the judges, all the numbers from all the students who voted and attended. And I'd like to announce first our second place winner. We get a drum roll, a virtual drum roll. We have a team that's Sweden Memories. I'd like to congratulate them. And then another drum roll, please. In first place, who took home the prize. It was very close too with all the teams, but this team really shined today. Their hard work and dedication really showed throughout the presentation. And that team would be the Big Bean team, which would be the team of Ian, Kamal, Liam, and Zach. I'd like to congratulate both teams, and actually all the teams, for all their hard work today, for making today possible. I would also like to thank all the judges who came by today and gave their great insight. With that being said, the prizes can be picked up in Heather Smith's office, room 238, next Tuesday or Thursday from 7 to 3. Also, I have everyone's email, so I'll be shooting everyone an email, thanking them for participating today, along with giving them the judges' rubrics. I'd like to thank everyone who made the Real World Business Challenge possible. I'm going to turn it over to Mehdi for the winners of the trivia contest.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I want to say a really good job from everyone in the Real World Business Challenge. That was a lot of fun to participate in, and as well see everyone's presentations. Everyone did a really good job. Now for the winners of the trivia contest, we split it up between each event. And for the keynote event, the winners are Anna Pies, Caitlin Fair, Evelina Izbedsky, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Mason Burke, and Shania Robinson. You guys will all be receiving an email about information on how to pick up your prizes from, I believe, Heather Smith's office. For panel one, we have Emma Porter, Jessica Hanley, Brendan Campbell, Michael Mulligan, and Kate Keefe. Same thing for you guys. We will be sending out an email. For panel two, which just finished, the winners are Kelsey Batchelder, Riley Dion, Taylor Barbagallo, Ian Lidster, and Hannah Rubin. I want to thank everyone for participating.
Awesome. I'll close it off. So, going off what Mehdi said, I'd like to thank everyone who made today possible. The circumstances we're in made this actually our first virtual SMAC. Believe it or not, last year we had at the same time, first week of March, which was right before the virus, so we're lucky to sneak it in right before. Personally, it was a hard pill for me to swallow at first, just because the last 2 years I had such great memories being on the ground floor of Paul, making all the memories, being a board member, or just participating my freshman year. But I think the hard work everyone put in to make this SMAC possible, it really made it the best one yet. First off, I wanted to thank all the speakers who came today. It took time out of their busy schedules. It meant a lot to me and the rest of the students that all these really successful speakers came today and took time out of their busy schedules. I think just about every student's leaving today feeling another leg up on the rest of the students, just getting ready to become a professional, getting ready for their internships, their life after college. I think all the speakers today really prepared us well for that. Then going off of that, I would also like to thank Ken, who helped us out with the Zoom, along with Leslie and Heather, who assisted us with other tasks. Then I would also like to thank the Dean and all the other Paul College funds who made this event possible. Thank you for your continuous support, especially during COVID. Another thank you I want to give is to Diane. For the 3 years I've known Diane, she continues to impress me every day. Diane always puts others before her, continues to make Mac better day by day. Diane cares about each one of her students and everyone on the board and everyone in the marketing club. I would like to thank her for that. Her hard work and dedication really radiates with all the ones around her. Next, I would like to thank Allie McPhee, our director of events, who helped put on today. Allie has been planning successful events the whole entire year, and today was a great example of this. Allie's hard work and dedication will be missed next year as she is graduating this May. I also want to thank the rest of the board for all their hard work this year. This was truly a team effort, and everyone really made this possible. Despite the circumstances we were in, and me and pretty much virtual the whole entire year, I feel like this board is very close and worked very hard together. To the students still on the call, I look forward to seeing you in our future meetings. We meet every other Wednesday via Zoom at 6 p.m., so make sure for your schedule. We're open to all majors, and even me as an important accounting major is still part of the club. Follow us on social media at UNHMAC on all social media. On another note, I'll be sending out applications to apply for the board of directors in April. This is a great way to get involved while improving your teamwork and professional development skills. Just about every interview I've had to this date, every interview has asked me about being part of MAC. I truly believe being part of the board has really improved all of my skills.